For the Voice of Truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.
And good morning, everyone, and welcome to INCRadio Florida. It's a beautiful March Saturday here on the East Coast of the United States. It's about 9:32 in the morning here on Saturday, March 15th. And of course, that means it's 9:32 p.m. there in the Philippines for our viewers that are there. Thank you for joining us this morning. I'm Brother Robert Tapalas, one of your hosts this morning, and we are super excited to talk to you about a topic that is very near and dear to our hearts here in INCRadio Florida, and that has to do with food. But today we're kind of talking about foods that maybe we're not too crazy about. But before we get started, I want to toss it over to our wonderful and lovely host, Sister Joy. Good morning, Sister Joy. How are you doing?
Good morning. Thank you so much, Brother Robert. It is actually a beautiful morning here in the central side or the central part of Florida. It's actually what we're experiencing now lately is that it's cool and it's a little bit cold. It's considered cold here for us Floridians. It's cold in the morning and then it kind of warms up in the afternoon. So we really have all these seasons. It's really nice. So we'd like to greet everyone all over the world and thank you for watching us. Be sure that you participate in our YouTube chat. So good morning, magandang umaga, magandang gabi, because it's nighttime over there in the Philippines, right?
That's right.
Buenos dias, buenas noches. We're so happy that you guys are joining us today, and this is definitely one of our favorite topics, food, right? But again, on the other side. So excited to jump in and let's talk about some of these food topics here.
Yeah, food is a topic. Anyone who's watched our program realizes that we have an affinity for food here on INCRadio Florida. It's with affinity, I think, is the fanciest word I could use to describe the fact that we just love to eat.
Yes.
And one of the things about food, though, is that this came up as a topic, Sister Joy, because we were talking about, I think, our favorite foods one day, and then it just happened to come up that, there's like these certain foods that we just don't happen to like, which is really weird because for some people.
Yeah. And that's funny because we're foodies, right? We love our food.
Yeah. You would think that we love just any kind of food, but it's I think there's different factors that weigh into why people like certain foods or don't like certain foods. And that's why today's topic is on food phobias, because there's certain definition of phobia is to have a fear. And sometimes they'll say it's an irrational fear of something, right? Sometimes people are fearful of heights, right, Sister Joy? Or sometimes they're fear of speaking in front of crowds. Like Sister Joy and I have this absolute fear of speaking in front of crowds, which is why we do it on radio. And but what's interesting is when they talk about it being an irrational fear, I think that it's actually really a result of things that you've been exposed to or not exposed to, which is what develops that phobia, especially when it comes to food, because to think about having a phobia about food may seem irrational, right? But I think it's more about what are things you don't like, and whether it has to do with texture, or sometimes it has to do with flavor or taste, or maybe spiciness. Like, I used to fancy myself as someone who had a cast iron stomach, which meant that I could pretty much eat anything and it would be rare for my stomach to get upset. That changes when you get older, by the way, for all of our viewers out there.
So it's been a long time, right?
You guys that are in your 20s and your teens who are just eating like ice cream and then buffalo wings and all of this stuff and feeling fine the next day. I hate to break it to you, but that's all changing when you get older.
You know what? Now that you say that, I'm like, you know what? Yeah, I think in my younger days, and I'm not that old, but like in, my younger timeline of life, yeah, I think it wouldn't matter the order of the food that goes in. But now it does make a difference.
It's funny you say the order of the food that goes in, because there were times that you would just eat whatever you want for breakfast and then for lunch, and then you would just be eating until like up to midnight and just be fine. And the way your body processes food, your metabolism and your digestive system, all of that changes when you start to get a little older. And so now I have been cursed with lactose intolerance, but that does not stop me from eating ice cream on occasion. I just
Gotcha.
I just can't do it around Sister Lulu
Okay.
because there's
For
there's
good
there's a
reason.
line there's a line she draws around when it is I'm allowed to have ice cream. But
Oh my.
when we talk
In
about food,
Florida, ice cream?
I
Oh,
know, right? Yeah, exactly. Like June or July,
yeah.
there's nothing but there's a lot of alternatives, and I think that's what we're going to be talking about today. We're going to be
Okay.
talking about food phobias, things that we've had a hard time appreciating, let's put it that way. But at the same time, Sister Joy, I think we're going to try to provide some tips, some alternatives for our viewers. So this way, maybe hopefully we can help somebody overcome, because that's part of the question. Can you really overcome them?
Yeah.
And
And then if for all of our viewers, if you've got a tip too, we want to hear from you. We
yeah,
want to
we
hear
want to hear
like if
tips.
you had one or family member has had one. We want to know. We want to learn.
In the chat, throw in what strange food phobias do you have? Because there's like some people who have phobias too, and I just found this out. What Sister Joy was that like bananas. Like
No, that's
there is
bananas.
a population of people out there that don't like bananas,
Really?
and I
I'm not
find
judging, but that's
that's
bananas.
yeah, that's just bananas. you took you took my joke. But I think that if you have a phobia for a food or something you don't like, put it in the chat,
Yeah.
and maybe through our group therapy session here, we'll help you to overcome what it is that you're fearing in terms of that food. So there's a difference, right? So phobias are sort of defined as this irrational fear versus, and this is a very serious problem, is allergies to food,
Okay.
right?
That's
Sure.
different.
So a lot of people suffer from allergies, and allergies are a real thing. I mean, allergies are your body's reaction to
Mhm.
or adverse reaction to foods or pollen or different things.
Mhm.
And I'll share just a real quick story. I used to be allergic to shrimp and
Used to.
lobster and crab, and
Mm.
I'll tell you right now, it was like frightening because I
Huh.
would not be able to eat any shellfish, and I
Mm.
would break out. My throat would start to tighten, and I wouldn't be able to breathe. And it's a phenomenon called anaphylactic shock, and my body would just basically try to shut down. In the
Now
way
you're
that I
saying you
found,
used to. Okay.
yeah, well, I used to because um, when I was younger, I would notice that I would have these reactions. But then when I got married to Sister Lulu, because at the time that meant I was a really cheap date because I couldn't eat lobster, I couldn't eat crab, couldn't have shrimp. All of those things were off the table, off the limits, right?
Uh-huh.
But when I got married,
Mhm.
I married a woman that absolutely loves seafood. Like seafood has to be part of the meal. So we
Okay.
ended up, after about 4 or 5 years of marriage, she started just very slowly introducing um, seafood back into my diet. She would put in a little bit of shrimp, or she did it with my knowledge. So for you guys that are out there thinking she was trying to poison me, that wasn't the case. She was after 5 years, she wasn't trying to get rid of me. She would just slowly start to introduce
Mhm.
shrimp, and then I would always have an EpiPen or something nearby in case I did have a very severe reaction. About
That's
3 months of incrementally increasing the amount of seafood that I was consuming, and this was usually like at a seafood buffet or someplace where there was a variety of things to eat. I actually overcame my allergy to seafood, to
really.
shellfish. Believe it or not, and it was. I think I was already in my like early 30s. So it's not like something that was done when I was young. It was like in my late to mid 30s when she was doing that. And I've spent the last 15 years since then trying to make up for those 30 years of not having it. So
Really.
anytime that there's seafood on the menu, that's guess this guy is ordering it and just really diving all in to having
You know
seafood.
what? That is love
Yeah. Yeah.
on both sides.
Slowly trying to put your spouse into anaphylactic shock. That's in doses, in increments. But it was
Your
always.
knowledge, though, that to me, I think that's a sweet story too. Because you both were working together. That's what marriage is, right? You
Yeah,
overcame
so
this
we're
challenge.
slowly working together. Like, here, have another shrimp, but my lips are already swollen. No, just have one more. But it works now. Now, I'm not saying that it's going to work for everybody. Okay, so you do take this with a grain of salt and some caution, because you have to know your body. You have to know your body's tolerance to certain things. But it's a way to be able, because they do this now with children, right? I
Mhm.
think it's babies. They introduce them to this wide variety of foods, right? We're going through that right now with baby Jamie. We have a very
Mhm.
strict regimen that you're allowed to introduce a new food once a week,
Mhm.
and you have to stick with that for the full week, because that way it gives you time to see if an allergy starts to develop.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, how
Such a
did you do
delicate.
that with your kids? I mean, your kids, I've watched your kids eat.
Oh,
They
I
like
know.
they're like their dad. They like to eat.
They do, and they will eat truckloads of food. It's kind of a blur, and it wasn't that long ago. It man, raising kids is really like I do know that when we did introduce, it was slowly like that, and thankfully, as far as I know, they don't have any reactions. We did the vegetables. I remember that introducing vegetables slowly, little by little, and then the proteins. And that was it. It was first the starches, right? Is that what you start with first?
Yeah, well, we
With
started
the
with
starch.
we started with the unfortunately bananas. Back on the topic of bananas, we started with bananas because we thought safe option. What kid doesn't like bananas? Every
Yeah,
child loves bananas. Apparently not baby Jamie.
really.
Baby J does not like bananas, and it was a sad day in the Tapalas household. I'll tell you that. It was it
But
was
isn't it that you can reintroduce it again maybe later on?
Well, and we intend to, because no matter what it takes, baby J is going to end up liking bananas. It's
You
when
heard
you
it right here.
come to grandma and grandpa's house, baby J, when you watch this 10 years from now, you'll understand why it is you love bananas. But but that's part of, I think, where things like a phobia start to come from, is that if you don't have the exposure to it, right?
Mm-hmm.
People have a phobia, a fear, and they always talk about it being an irrational fear, mostly because it's something that they're not familiar with, things that they don't know,
Mm-hmm.
right? So if you haven't experienced, walking and hiking up in cliffs and mountains a lot, you may have an unnatural fear of heights because you just aren't accustomed to it. Not like if you
True.
were flying, you might have this fear of flying in an airplane,
There you go.
phobia, but that maybe is
You
because you
know,
haven't.
or the reverse of that could also be true, right? You have this experience that really wasn't the experience, um, the most ideal experience when it comes to that, right? Maybe to that
Mhm.
like, oh, this was not prepared a certain way, and now you're like, oh, I don't think that, that's the
I never
future.
want to do it again. You know
Yeah.
what? That's actually, I think, spot on, because we'll just start off food, since we're talking about food phobias. The one thing I cannot eat is liver.
Live.
Liver is just liver. Liver is, and I know you guys are going to blow up in the chat because there's a lot of you that love liver, and I'm sorry, but it's liver is just something I have never gotten a flavor for, and or a taste for, and I think, though, exactly to your point, that it's because maybe I've never had liver served to me in a way that made it palatable, or made it
You're going to
something
get
that I
a
would
whole bunch
enjoy.
of invitations now. Try this.
If you have viewers that are out there, especially if you're in Florida, and you think that there's a recipe out there that you feel that may actually help me to overcome my liver phobia, it's more than welcome to try. I'm more than willing to try. I think that, to me, I think it may be an irrational, because I mean, and I guess it goes along with a lot of the whole spectrum of, like, liver is kind of an internal organ, right? So, like,
That
internal
doesn't help.
organs.
That really doesn't help. That's
I'm
true.
a nurse. I know what the liver is used for, right? So I can't. And so if if there's a way to kind of get a recipe, I mean, do you eat liver,
I'll
Sister Joy?
I'll eat it, but I don't have a phobia for it. I mean, but it's not something that I'll say, "Oh, look, there's the liver. I'll eat it." But
Like
I'll
people get really creative with liver. Like they'll turn it into a pate. They'll sometimes like sprinkle it
oh,
into a dish to make it more less visible. Because I think it's a combination of one, knowing what it is, and
yes.
two, it's the texture. It's just got that really
That
weird.
creamy, right? It's that
Right, exactly.
creamy.
And it just it may just have never been prepared properly. But again, talking about it being an internal organ, I come to think of it now, I don't necessarily like eating like tripe.
Oh,
Not
okay.
high on my list, right? I know y'all are gonna just
It's
blast me. You're gonna get blasted right now, but I don't eat tripe. Like internal organs of any sort that are in soups, because like Vietnamese pho, right?
yes.
In Vietnamese pho, they love to use like all sorts of
Right.
very exotic parts of the animal,
So I have a question then when it comes to like even your like your kare kare, right? There's a lot
right?
of type in there sometimes, right? Depending on who prepares
Sometimes,
it.
and yeah, so it takes it. Well, and there's I guess two different things. One is it the ingredient itself? Like, so if there's tripe in kare kare, and to all of those wonderful chefs that have made me kare kare in the past, I've loved all of your kare kare. I'm just putting it out there.
Good job.
I love them all. But if there's tripe, you might see Brother Robert in the corner, kind of taking it and putting it on Sister Lulu's plate because she loves it. But oxtail, I'm okay with oxtail. But the tripe and especially like the tendons and just things that just the texture. I think honestly for me, it's more about texture than it is flavor.
Okay.
If it's
And
too
then just knowing
chewy.
which part of the internal organ that
Yeah,
is, right?
exactly. If you're going to serve me an exotic dish, I need to see an anatomy chart over all of the parts of the animal were that went into that meal.
Oh my goodness. Oh, you know what? That reminds me. So speaking of that, I think I don't have a phobia, but I know before this occurrence, I would have never tried um they call it lengua, right? Or uh,
Oh,
beef
beef
tongue.
tongue?
Beef tongue. I would never. Like
Have
if you
you?
asked me, okay, so I have a story for this. So I would never, ever, 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 ever would I ever try it because I mean, you're telling me this is the tongue,
Yeah.
right?
This
Of
is
this
this is what the cow uses to talk to me.
moo, right?
Now we can't speak anymore because
No, oh my goodness. So then, I was over at my Lola's house one day and she asked me, she prepared a dish for me and she's like, do you want, and I thought she said beef tang, like the beef is going to have a tang
oh,
flavor
I
to
thought she meant like the orange juice tang.
it. No, not that one. So, with all respect, and I was like, I ate it. I'm like, man, this is actually really good. It was tender and it was good. And it wasn't until I think I got home and then my mom called me and she said something like, "Oh, did you try your Lola's the beef tongue?" And I was like, "What? What did I eat?" And she's like, "It was prepared. It was the tongue of a cow." And I'm like, "The tongue of a cow? What did I eat? Oh my goodness! I think I really did. And to think back, I enjoyed it. But ever since then, I've realized that yes, I actually do. So if I ordered, if I went to a pop-up stand, I would order lingua from only
Like
because I'm like,
actually, like legitimately
yeah,
with knowledge, knowing that you're
yes,
going to
with
order
knowledge
it.
now because of that experience. So that's why I think, the reverse is true because I would never just knowing what it is, I'm like, oh, so it's obviously prepared the right way.
I
Um,
think that it has to be right. And fair warning is a public service announcement. If the food truck looks sketchy, don't order from there.
yeah,
Okay, that's a red flag already. But if your Lola's making it,
yeah,
you got to have some. You got to be pretty
she,
trustworthy.
yeah.
Lolas are pretty trustworthy when it comes to cooking. But how many of you guys how many of you guys have tried beef tongue? I know tacos. It's a big thing, right? They
Yeah.
do beef tongue tacos lengua, I guess. And have you guys tried it? We'd love to hear if you have.
Yeah,
If you have, tell us, your experience. I saw that there's some folks already jumping in, Sister Joy, trying to give Brother Robert some advice on how to prepare that liver. Sister Chelsea Castellano tells me adobong liver is best. So it's about the
oh,
spices, maybe. Thank you, Sister Chelsea. Um, Trying to create again a flavor profile that might be something that's palatable. But I don't. It's texture. It's got to be the texture because was the lengua kind of chewy?
it wasn't. It was prepared like in a way where I'm like, wow, this beef is so tender. I wonder what part of the beef this is. And she told me. I just didn't process it, obviously. And
Well,
thankfully she didn't.
cows are pretty big. There's a lot of meat in there. Yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, prior to that, and even now, though, when I see it at the grocery market, I'm like, oh, that's a beef tongue. Like,
Yeah. Oh,
I
some of these
couldn't prepare
markets.
it, not yet. At least someone helped me
You
with that part. But
you come to some of these Asian markets and you roll through the meat section
oh yeah,
and you see like what's available for you to cook with and experiment. I mean, you can get really experimental
oh
with
yeah,
some of these things. And of course I make my way straight over to like the steaks and the and the
more
what do they
common.
call that? What do they call it? The finely shaven beef they use that they serve at these Korean restaurants. The brisket.
They roll it up now, so
Yeah, it's
supposedly.
rolled. Yeah, the
Mhm.
brisket. Yeah, so that's I hightail it straight there, right past the ears and the tongue and the everything else that's on there. So what then? I mean, it sounds like you're a lot more adventurous than I am when it comes to food because I'm like we've already established I'm not a liver guy. Well, we'll stick with proteins. Is there a protein that you have an
Mm.
aversion to?
No, it would have been the beef tongue. It totally would have been that if I
Had you
didn't
known?
experience. Yeah, if because I've seen it. I've seen it at the grocery market. I'm like, ooh, it's a quite intimidating, Um,
An intimidating sight to
yes, it is, and to think of how to prepare that. But that other than that, I think that's pretty much the only.
really.
Yeah, I
Wow,
think
now
so.
I'm feeling now I'm feeling very, like I'm behind the eight ball here. I feel like I've got to step up my foodie game. I've just dropped a few notches, you
Oh
know.
my goodness, it's yeah, and I think one thing that's helped though too is Brother Billy. My husband,
Oh, he loves to try new things. I know I'm so jealous of him. He,
he will try anything. He'll
yeah,
do
it's
anything. Oh,
from
and how about this? Y'all don't. Okay, let me tell you the story behind his name. So Billy is not his. This is not even his official name. He acquired this name.
he
Um,
acquired it.
yes, he did. He earned it, I guess. When he was a child, his older sister, was eating a banana, and as she was eating the banana, she turned her head, and her brother, who's my husband, was eating the banana peel. From that moment, she goes, she's like, Mommy, Daddy, he's eating the banana peel. And, his family, of course, jumped on and goes, he's like a billy goat. So that's why
No,
yes, that's why we call him
he's
Billy.
really.
Yes.
Oh, no, I can't call him that now.
Because now you know the story, right? Yeah,
I was
that's
trying to
why that's
figure out like where is it that I figured it was part of his name because someplace in his name the word William or Billy must be in there.
nope, it's not in there.
Really, I can't call him that anymore. Then I'm gonna. That's
Yeah, so
oh
Billy
no.
goat. Mm-hmm.
Oh
Yeah.
boy,
Yeah,
that's
and so when his sister's in town or when the family's around, we love to talk about that. And if he's eating, they go, there goes Billy again. He's eating. So
oh man. And is that and his parents? Everybody calls him that. That's his.
yes,
It's kind of his
his,
name.
his parents, his family, when his uncle comes by, that's what they call him. That's what he's known as, Billy.
That's a hilarious story. Well, I will do my best to continue calling his name with a straight face. Now knowing that, but so when we're looking at then when we talk about different food folks, obviously Brother Billy doesn't have very many, if any.
No.
A lot of it is just based on experience. I When we talk about like outside of just proteins, because I can eat pretty much everything else now that I can eat seafood. Um, Liver still a work in progress. Other internal organs are still a work in progress because that there's other things too, right? Like chicken gizzards. You
Oh
eat
yeah.
chicken gizzards?
I'll eat it. I'll eat them, but it's not like
I've
I'll
never had.
fish and go, oh, this is the best part. I just
I
eat
can
it.
tell you. I could tell you with with all confidence. I have never had a chicken gizzard ever.
No way. We're in
What is the?
Florida.
I
Really?
know.
Let's go to like one of those southern the southern those southern shops. But I think that comes along with when they prepared like the fried liver or the fried
Right.
onions and the fried gizzards. Oh, okay.
There's it's like all of these internal organs of these various animals have all come together into one platter, and I think that would to me, I mean, right now, as of right now, that would be sort of a nightmare for me. Is
Really, that is so funny.
but
Actually, when I prepare the adobo, I actually had one. I have some on the stove right now, for lunch.
oh, I can
That's
smell it.
actually I include that packet of the innards in the adobo. I think that's what some of our viewers were talking about. Yeah, and I don't fish for it, but I know Brother Billy does. He'll he'll go for it. No, he'll eat it.
I maybe I don't know. I don't know. Is it best to maybe just feed it to me and not tell me what it is and let me come to my own conclusion, or because that happened though. That happened.
Okay.
Somebody actually slipped some liver into a dish,
Okay.
and when they slipped the liver into the dish, I ate it, right? And
Well,
it was slipped into a beefsteak dish. Beefsteak, right? So
yes.
beefsteak is like that's the bomb. That's some good stuff. They slipped some liver in there and waited till, and maybe they should just never have told me. But then I found out later that there was liver in it, and
Oh
so
no.
now I look at beefsteak very differently than I used to.
You're so guarded now, like,
I'm
see,
like,
and that's why I think it comes to experience too, right? You're like, oh,
but the thing is, I think it's irrational because it wasn't that bad. It actually didn't taste that bad. But now this I've got this impression that if I'm eating beefsteak, there's liver in it, and my mind tells me I don't like liver. So as a result, I'm not going to eat the beefsteak. That's crazy.
yeah. So how do you overcome that?
I
You
need
just keep
therapy.
going,
I think I need therapy.
just keep
Food
going and
therapy.
smile as you eat it. Like,
I need food therapy. So I maybe I just need to eat more and more of it. I'm making a commitment on radio.
oh, is this a
Maybe that's what I need to do. Is that I'm going to start trying new dishes with liver in it. So I just made that commitment to see if I can overcome. Now I'm not promising that I'm going to be eating platters of liver here. Everyone, please. Just I'm going to start experimenting with dishes. So next time we go out or next time you see me, I may be cautiously approaching it, but I will be trying out liver. Now,
let's try it. So I think many of our viewers have mentioned too, if you just adobo the liver, right?
yeah,
Maybe, and you like adobo, right?
I,
That's
I
like very
love, I love,
traditional.
I love adobo. I love adobo. Just you could adobo anything. I've had adobo, obviously pork and
Mhm,
chicken. I've
mhm.
had adobong pusit,
Oh, that's good too.
which
Yes.
is squid, right?
Squid,
That's
yeah.
oh man, I love that. I love that. Which is weird because a lot of people don't like squid because they think it's too slimy.
Yeah,
And
or
an
sometimes it could
octopus.
be a little chewy, so that's actually really unique considering that you like that, but you don't like the liver.
Yeah. So the
Yeah,
liver thing still a work in progress.
okay.
But with in I saw some folks that were near Sister Melka. Sister Melka, another recipe, adobo chicken liver, right? So
Sure.
maybe that may be the key. Maybe it's got to be adobo flavored
Mhm.
somehow.
Yes.
So we'll see if they're going to be able to maybe come up with a magic recipe that will get me in on air. Brother Robert will be eating some
Oh,
liver. right?
That will be fun. Let's do
Yeah,
it.
that'll be the most viewed.
You're not the only one too of our viewers out there. Are a lot of we have a few that are team no liver too.
Team No Liver. That's the hashtag Team No
Yes,
Liver.
yes, there you go. Team no liver.
We'll start a hashtag challenge based on food. Now, but it's not just proteins though. There's certain vegetables. I'm proud of myself.
Okay.
There's one vegetable that I had an aversion to, and we lived in Georgia, so there was no way that I wasn't going to be able to not overcome it because I had to. It was okra.
I was gonna say because okra is usually that. Yeah. How was it prepared?
I could not eat okra because it's that slimy sort of, and it wasn't even a flavor thing. I mean, to me, it doesn't really have a lot of flavor, right?
Mhm.
Um, it's just the slimy texture to it. And in Georgia, when we lived in Georgia, a lot of people love to make fried okra.
Okay.
Slice it up, put some seasoning on it, throw a whole lot of breading, and throw that baby into a fryer. And
That's good.
basically all the food in the South in Atlanta was basically deep fried and covered in gravy. It didn't matter what it was; they would fry it, cover it in gravy, and it tasted great. So that actually got me to a point where I was eating okra more and more, and I've actually had dishes where I'll just eat the okra without the breading now. So
Really? But question, would you eat it now prepared other than fried?
yes,
Oh,
I
really?
would. I do. I
Okay.
do actually. There's some dishes that I've had where they put okra, like fresh okra that's been sliced and sautéed.
Yeah.
So it's completely revealed. It's not camouflaged at all under breading. And, and I've actually had it. I actually like it. And yeah, it's definitely a texture thing. But I eat it. I appreciate the flavor of it now. Just not with liver yet. But with okra, I've gotten over it, but still, and I've tried it once. I'm still not completely on the on the train for it, and this is a big one for you guys out there. So please do not blow me up on the chat. Bitter melon, better known
Oh,
as ampalaya. I can't.
good for you,
I've
right? But
tried.
it
I
doesn't
can't.
help.
I hear that there's like health benefits to it, like a ton of health benefits to it, but bitter melon and me just we aren't vibing. And we haven't vibed for a long time. So I don't know if
You're
there's
so
a
funny.
magic recipe to get, or maybe it's the way it's prepared. Like I'm assuming you and Brother Billy and your family, you guys eat bitter melon.
Yeah, we eat it. I don't prepare it regularly, but yeah, I'll eat it. But I've had I've tried it in some dishes where I'm like, "Ooh, this was really, I mean, it can punch you."
Well, I
if
get
it
knocked out. Yeah. I'll
yeah. I
and
think there's a
and
way to make it sweat or to take out that bitterness in it. Um
Yeah,
but
there's a cooking technique that I've heard. So if you guys are out there, you experts, because we do have some experts here in the District of Florida who know how to cook a mean ampalaya meal, a dish.
Mhm.
If you guys know what you have to do to bitter melon to make it not so bitter, or is it being bitter? Is that the whole point? I know that there's because I don't
Yeah, is
get
that
it
the
if
health
it is.
benefit?
But I've heard like people have told me before, and I just can't remember, but they've said that there's certain ways that you would have to prepare it in order for it to lose the bitterness but still preserve a lot of the
Mm.
health values and nutritional values, right? And it's something that I think it's again, it just goes into how it's prepared. And so if there's a recipe out there for bitter melon that somebody's got, then maybe I'd be willing to try that. Probably not that and liver on the same dish. We got to do it
In small
in
doses, right?
increments, baby steps. We got to
There
take
you
baby steps here. But to me, I think that that's a pretty irrational phobia, given how many people love it. I mean, I go
go.
to parties. It's like they love it, and I think certain cultures too. It just becomes a part of their recipe, right? I
They
think
do. I think my parents have a tea. mean,
A
that's like
buttermelon tea?
there's a bitter melon tea, I think, and I'm sure they just drink it for the health benefits of it. But yeah, that's how um serious they are about their bitter.
I would be drowning that bitter melon with honey if I had to drink it in a tea. But I mean, if there's, I'm sure that there's a recipe out there that somebody has that probably would make it a lot less bitter
Oh my
and more
goodness.
tolerable. Let's see, has someone come up with something here that we have? Well,
I'm
here's
trying.
an interesting one. This is interesting. Um, Jadalyn has come up with a comment that says that she knows someone who has a phobia to condiments,
Whoa.
ketchup,
Oh, here.
mayonnaise, mustard. It's
Oh,
like basically anything that adds flavor to food. Yeah.
yeah.
But
So it would be wow.
I think that with certain ways that meals are cooked, um, where is it? I saw it in a movie or at a restaurant or something. Like if you cook a steak
Hmm.
perfectly,
Hmm.
there should be no need for steak sauce,
Oh, I saw that somewhere or I read that
right?
somewhere or something. Yeah.
Like if you cook something the way it's supposed to be cooked and you season it the way it's supposed to be seasoned, you shouldn't have to put condiments. But I don't think that that's necessarily a phobia. That's just
A
that's
preference.
an that's an affront to the chef. You just finished cooking this beautiful cut of meat, this filet mignon. Can I
It's
please
true.
have some ketchup?
Yeah, I know.
Like what is it even for? But that's an interesting phobia. It's so I'm not feeling as inferior now because I do love me some ketchup. I do love me some ketchup.
Yeah, mayo, mustard. I do like that.
Oh, and Unbearably Cute confirms there is Umpalaya tea. There is a tea that's out there. Your parents are drinking it, right? And
Uh-huh.
I'd love to know how to prepare it so that way it actually tastes like Earl Grey. Or
I don't know if that's gonna
I don't
happen.
know why I said Earl Grey. My wife is going to kill me. She does not like Earl Grey tea. It's her least favorite tea. So,
Oh,
but
really? Actually, yeah, it's different than your traditional like green tea and black teas for sure. How
it's
about
yeah.
this one? Taco. They don't like cilantro. I've heard that one too.
Cilantro. No,
Cilantro.
that's been. You know what? That has been medically proven. Um, you know those online DNA tests that you could send out to find
Yeah.
out what your ancestry is and all that other stuff. There's actually a checkbox that allows you to find out if whether or not your lineage or your DNA
Ah,
has the DNA elements that have an aversion to cilantro, which is like the weirdest, most random thing.
yes.
Because if you think of all the different things out there that they could be testing for in your DNA, like are you allergic to peanut butter? I'd like to know that before I have some.
Yes.
It's
Or shellfish.
it, cilantro is an actual line item that they could tell you
Uh,
your DNA composition is such that you have an aversion to DNA to cilantro, and a lot of people say that it's true.
yeah.
So
Um,
maybe
I'm not one of those, but how about you? Do you have an aversion to cilantro?
no, I love me some cilantro.
Yeah,
I'll put it on
I
all my
gotta
tacos,
hear.
except my lengua tacos. I won't put it on my
Or
lengua
liver.
tacos. Yeah, or liver tacos, but I'll put it on every other taco that I'm gonna have.
Oh, yes. I love cilantro, but I've heard that for those who have that aversion, it tastes like soap.
What
Cilantro.
cilantro tastes like soap?
I can't wrap my head around that. So I'm like, wow, because I love cilantro too.
Yeah,
It
I
adds
think
on.
that would be something. And what's interesting is when you start to develop these phobias to food or to
Mhm.
flavors in food, how does that carry over into like your family? Because then that
Yeah,
means you're not. If you have an aversion to it, it obviously means you're not going to include it in your cooking, right?
that's
Or do
right.
you? Like
That's such a great, yeah,
you
yeah.
think about how you cook for your kids and your family, and then here's the real you know, check is what happens if the spouses don't have the same phobias or likes and dislikes. Then you have the one who's like, man, I really wish you'd whip me up some liver with sauteed in some cilantro and ampalaya. But, I'm never making that. But if you marry someone, so maybe that's another checkbox on the is this the one for me or not?
Wow. That's love right there. Mama Lulu's cooking up some stuff for you right now.
I'll whip up that here's your special plate of just plain steak with ketchup, Robert. And the rest of us are going to be eating the exotic meal. She's a great cook, though. She just whatever she cooks, I end up eating it because I think after 35 years, she knows my taste.
The shrimp story, I love.
Yeah. Didn't kill me off. Didn't
That's awesome, though, to know.
But so it happens. But the thing is that there are definitely people who order certain foods a certain way without knowing what it is that the ingredients are. Like when I go to a restaurant, I'm one of these OCD people that won't I don't take it at face value of what's in the dish.
So you're one of those. Okay.
Yeah, I'm one of those people who actually ask, okay, there's no way there's only these 5 ingredients in this dish. So I need to know what else is in this dish. Is there any liver? Is there any? So yeah, I'm no fun to go out to eat with. I just love to
However, so if the food is on point, the food is really on point for you.
Well, and that's the way I think you get over your phobias. You've got to broaden your horizons, right? You've got to start to experiment a little bit. And I know you guys are in the chat giving me some ideas. So I hope my wife is there feverishly taking notes right now of all of the different things she's going to have to try cooking to try to help get me over on these weird phobias that I have. But it's really, I think, just really a matter of opening and broadening your palate.
Yeah, and I guess for the variety of foods, what's interesting is that I see here also in our chat that she had a Sister Jen, she had a coworker that had a phobia of raspberries. Now that's like phobia. Is a serious phobia because she said that she could not even look at them in grocery ads because they were hollow.
You know what?
Phobia. That's a true phobia. Right
there's a phobia of well, I don't know if it's hollow, but there's a phobia, and there's actually a scientific name for it for people that have a phobia of things that have holes.
Oh yes, that's right.
I think we talked about that like last year in an episode or something. But there's a certain phobia that's it's diagnosed. And there's the super long, complicated name, scientific name. So if you guys know what that is, I don't have time to Google it. But there's a phobia that people have of things that have holes in it. And it could be related to that. People who have phobias to fruits I don't know. Raspberries don't have holes.
No.
They're hollow. Is it raspberry hollow?
Oh, it's raspberry. Yeah, it is hollow. But it's, wow.
I didn't know they were hollow.
Blackberries. And they do kind of look similar, but you don't really see the hole in the raspberry.
I was going to say, how do you know that it's hollow unless you
actually
eat it, right? You've got to eat it and understand that it's hollow. I don't know. That's about as strange as my ampalaya. Oh yeah.
So if you core a pineapple, those who have that phobia, could you not eat it anymore?
Yeah. Oh, speaking about pineapples, short tangent, but relevant.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of a pink pineapple?
A pink pineapple?
Pink pineapple. Have you ever heard of a pink pineapple? And I'm not talking about having dipped it in food coloring.
Okay, no.
No. So Sister Lulu and I went to celebrate our anniversary last year, or last month rather. And we were in a restaurant there in Orlando that served for breakfast pink pineapple, which apparently it's genetically engineered.
Okay, I was going to say, was that some sort of hybrid?
Genetically engineered, but it's found, and I want to say, and if you're watching, Sister Lulu, correct me if I'm wrong, because I probably am. It's only available in Costa Rica, but it's imported because you can't genetically modify it here in the United States, but you can import it, and it's imported and sold. At least the one that we were able to get was from Miami. So if you're watching from Miami,
Ah.
shoot me a DM and I'll get you my address. You could ship me some pink pineapple.
So the
But
flavor profile of this
it
pink pineapple.
it's insane how good they are. If you can find pink pineapple out there, get a pink pineapple and
So
try
what
it.
makes it different than
It,
the
it is
other?
regular pineapple. It has that kind of like really acidic nature
Yes.
to it, right?
Mhm.
Super acidic nature to it. This has the same flavor profile of a regular pineapple, but it's sweeter and it's
Mm.
not as acidic. It's
Oh,
just
that's
off the
interesting.
charts crazy. So a pink pineapple is, if you can find one someplace, get two, ship one to me, and try it.
Oh,
'Cause
get 3. Ship
they are
1 and
that, you get
2.
three and ship one to Joy. They are that good. So
Really?
yeah, look, go on the hunt. After she tried it for like a week, she was scouring the internet trying to find out where we can get one. I wasn't going to drive to Miami to go pick one up, but we had one shipped, and it was
Really? And
good
just as
stuff.
good.
Yeah, definitely don't have a phobia of pink pineapple,
Oh, really?
but
Okay.
everyone needs to try it. Oh wait, somebody, I think they answered the question that we had about holes. It's called
Holes.
like, I'm going to say this right.
What is
Trip
it? Oh,
Trypophobia. I have a phobia to long words. That's what it is. If it has more than 2 syllables,
trypophobia.
phobia, or maybe it's trip. Do you think maybe it's
Trypophobia.
trypophobia?
Trypophobia.
Phonetically, can somebody tell us that? Trypophobia. So trypophobia is a phobia of things that have holes in them.
Whoa.
And so that's a thing apparently. So maybe raspberries falls into that category. I'm not sure. Oh, sister, here you go. Sister Arnie's talking about yellow watermelon too. So like,
Oh, we've tried a yellow watermelon.
have you? I've never seen a yellow watermelon. I'll trade your yellow watermelon and see. I'll see your yellow watermelon and raise you a pink pineapple.
Okay, let's do
Maybe
it.
that.
I would like to try a pink pineapple because that
Yeah.
that whole after I think my kids were small and I gave them pineapple. I forgot which child it was. And for days they were like, ah!
It's in pineapple, like for me, and this is not a phobia. I love pineapple,
Mhm.
but if I eat too much pineapple, and it doesn't even have to be too much, and I'm hoping it again, like in my older age, I start to develop itchiness around my lips, and my lips will start to get red when I eat pineapple.
Mhm.
Have you guys,
I think
anybody
I did that.
experienced that?
One of my kids, I don't remember. It was one of the last two kids.
One of the last two. How many kids
I
do
don't
you
know.
have? You
He
only
was
have
either my
three.
middle one.
You only have three, Sister
I know,
Joy.
but I do remember the reaction and like, oh, okay, no pineapple for a while.
But I think that the pink pineapple, that was one of the things that doesn't have that uh
Cool.
acidic nature to it, and it doesn't make your tongue itchy, right? So I think Sister Lou mentioned that in the chat. But one of the things that I think that if we were able to start introducing, these new foods or different things to help overcome your phobia, is really to just, it's a commitment to it, right? Because
Yeah.
there's not like one. So I've already made the commitment that I'm going to start trying liver. So
Yes. We all
everyone who's
heard it here.
watching that knows that I go to your house, I'm willing to try it. You just have to tell me that it's in it.
There you go. With all
So
transparency. Yes,
yeah,
we're
let's be fully transparent. I mean, I'm not asking you to put a neon sign with lights around it that says this has liver, but just
invite
give
the
me
whole
a heads up.
neighborhood down. He's trying liver.
Just give me,
We'll
just
sit
give me
there
a
and
heads
watch.
up. That's all. And I think that would be one way to be able to start overcoming it, just like what happened with me and seafood, right? And shellfish. It's just, you have to introduce it in small amounts and you start to build a tolerance to it. This is more building a flavor tolerance to it or a texture tolerance to it. But I'm willing to put myself out there and do it.
Okay. So I think we have to start tracking your progress now, right?
Are you gonna be like hitting up Sister Lulu, texting her and saying, has he tried his liver?
Yes, exactly. Okay. So did
We're
we
gonna
put
be watching it. There's enough people from Tampa that are watching this right now that I know I'm not going to be able to go to another potluck without somebody looking at me going, why aren't you trying that?
There you go.
So I've just outed myself, and apparently that's how I'm going to end up eating liver and enjoying it.
is gonna be fun. Okay, yeah. So
So,
we're all gonna track your progress. We'll have another update on for all of y'all soon.
and how my liver journey is.
There you
So
go.
I'm really disappointed. So you don't have any food phobias apparently.
No, I don't. I don't. I really don't. I. Yeah. I'll pretty much try anything. I
If
mean,
my
and I'll
if
eat
my
it.
inferior if my inferiority complex could not get any worse. Now I'm do you guys have any food phobias that are stranger than mine that are out there that you guys can throw in? Because I'm feeling like I'm no longer a foodie because I have too many strange things I don't like. So throw in the chat. What is like the one? There's got to be something you guys don't like. I know, whatever it is that is like a strange phobia. Anybody have a phobia to ice cream? I don't, but
Wait a
apparently
minute.
my lactose
I
intolerance does.
Yeah, totally. I have to know if somebody has a phobia for ice cream. Come sit
Yeah, are
next
you
to me.
brave enough? Are you
Let's
brave
talk.
enough to put on in the chat that you have a phobia of ice cream? Because that would be, that
Whoa. Yes,
that
and
would
then I
make me
have
feel
to know.
better, and it would take the attention off of me and my liver phobia and the ampelea phobia. But
Oh, here we have
it's
one. Cannot stomach. This is a sister Cass,
oh
right? I cannot stomach tomatoes and
yeah, our
mushrooms.
district Kadiwa president is telling us that she can't have mushrooms and tomatoes. I'm making it a personal mission to actually fix that. You just have not had mushrooms and tomatoes prepared the right way. Where you haven't well, and there's also like a bajillion different types of mushrooms that are out there,
Yeah, that's true.
right? You got
Yeah, they do.
Bellas and you've got all sorts of different
That's right.
but it's good to see Sister Arnie's on the doesn't like liver train. So there we go.
No liver.
So it's that trend is growing. The hashtag no liver train.
You're not
But
alone.
we got you. It's just weird. Well, and somebody there, Sister Melga, earlier on the chat, she put on there that ampalaya con carne recipe. That
Oh,
actually sounds pretty good.
there
I
you
think
go.
that sounds like something that I would try. Put a little bit of cayenne and something to offset that bitter melon flavor. Bring the
Add a bit of this, add a bit of that.
ampalaya. Is that like sacrilegious? Is to put ketchup on ampalaya? Would that would
You
that be in
know,
front?
you
It's
know what?
it's just
I was actually thinking that I would hear, okay, ampalaya is definitely one. Okra is one. How about broccoli?
no love broccoli.
Yeah, I love broccoli too.
I've always loved broccoli. Cauliflower though, different
Oh,
story.
oh, you don't like?
Well, I used to not like. It's another like the okra story. It's
Oh,
I've never liked
there's two.
the
See?
texture of there is. I'm not complete. Come on, I'm not a Neanderthal. I actually will try different things. The uh cauliflower always was too mushy for me, and it kind of had a weird flavor to it until I forget what restaurant it was. And it was here in Tampa. We had they took an entire head of cauliflower and deep fried it and put
Oh,
buffalo sauce.
you know what? I think
Like
we need to deep
buffalo.
fry the liver for you.
Yeah, if you could fry it enough that it loses its mushy texture. But they made a buffalo style cauliflower head, and
Oh,
then it was like incredible. And now I'll try like what is it, the Szechuan style or
oh,
general
okay. And
general
that
style
sauce.
chicken style um, cauliflower, which is really good. Brussels sprouts, same thing.
Oh, yeah. And that's also one of those top foods that I would have thought that, would have been
Yeah,
on the more of
Brussels
a
sprouts.
version instead of phobia, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, and the phobias again. Aversion is just you know all about it. It's just an aversion because you're trying to avoid it. A phobia is like this irrational fear, like what I have. That's those are the key differences. But yeah, so I'm on the cauliflower train. I'm on the Brussels
Liver.
sprout train. I'm on that
Oh,
train.
wait, you're on it. Okay, so that's
Yeah, I'm
good.
on I'm on that express
They
train.
make rice
Um,
now too, cauliflower rice.
Yeah, cauliflower rice,
Low,
big
low
big
carb.
thing in the household, right? Trying to cut those carbs, but it's just certain things. And I really wish that we had a guest on that had more phobias than me, because now I just look like I'm a very picky eater. sitting next to you, there, Sister Joy. I feel like I'm a picky eater now.
Yeah, I think I'll eat anything. Yeah.
Oh man, everyone's gonna invite you over to their house for dinner. I'm getting no more invitations. Yeah. Brother
No,
Robert,
you're going to get a whole bunch of invitations. Now it's going to be like, eat this liver. I think we got to get you a deep fried recipe for this liver.
for deep fried with adobo,
There you go.
with a nice side of sautéed ampalaya. I think that would be my fantasy meal right there.
There you go. You guys heard it here.
Yeah, I can't believe it. We spent 50 minutes talking about food aversion, and
There you
I'm
go.
super,
Mostly yours.
super hungry. I'm super hungry now, by the way. But
Oh, yes. It's that time.
but let's just jump into the chat. We want to be able to make sure that we, of course, acknowledge some of the best. We have some of the best fans. You know,
Oh, we love
our
it.
viewers. They're on here early.
Mhm.
We have we have Lonnie who's watching us from Long Island City, New York.
Oh,
Way
well,
up
thanks for
there,
joining
way up
us.
there in New York. How you doing? How you doing? That's that's a greeting to everybody up there in New York who's watching. How you doing? Then here in the Philippines, we have Mario Oka. Good evening here in the Philippines, enjoying watching INCRadio Florida from the locale of Brixtonville, district of North, Caloocan North. You know, when we were doing the show with Sister G and Sister J, they used to love like teasing me about the fact that I couldn't pronounce certain regions in the Philippines. So, Brother Chris Marin, good morning from St. Petersburg, Florida, our neighbor there to the west. Always good to hear from you. Good day to all the brethren around the world from Pensacola, District of Florida, from Brother Benjamin Luzon. And then, of course, we've got one of our most dedicated fans, of course, Brother Adrian from there in Las Vegas, Nevada, getting up early to watch us. Says he doesn't have a phobia, but sea urchins are kind of a hard pass. If I'm trying liver, Brother Adrian, I think me and you are going to sit down and have a nice plate of sea urchin at some point. You know? It's a sushi. I can eat. That's crazy. I can eat that. I've had sea urchin before, and it's kind of a weird texture, and I actually am not avoiding it. You know, I'm kind
Yeah,
of
you could put that on some like
liking it.
sushi rice and some seaweed.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, absolutely. And then from there in Temple Hill, Sister Amelia Salazar, thank you so much for joining us this morning. And you know, we are the fastest now. I can say 60 minutes on radio because it's now the bottom of the hour, Sister Joy, and we are just really grateful to everyone that watched us today to help me through my food aversion journey. Um, tune in because at some point I'm going to be eating liver live on the show. Just not going to tell you when, but next week we've got a really good show. You guys need to tune in because we're going to be once again jumping on that bandwagon of trying to solidify the relationships in the families. And next week's show is called Pebbles versus Boulders and how it is that your words have weight. So please be sure you join us for that program next week. But for now, this is Brother Robert here in Tampa, Florida. It's a beautiful sunny day. It's going to be in the 80s today here in Florida. This is why we live here. And for Sister Joy there in the happiest place in the state, there in Central Florida, in Orlando, we want to wish you a very happy Saturday. And please join us next week once again here on INCRadio Florida.
This is INCRadio, DZEM 954, the voice of truth, the official radio station of the Church of Christ or Iglesia ni Cristo.